All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It is your boy, TheGlacierr, and if you guys do not already know who I am a Diamond Garen one trick, and I've managed to get Diamond 2 seasons in a row with absolute ease. And in this guide, I'm going to cover absolutely everything that you guys need to know on exactly what I have done to consistently get Diamond and how you guys are going to be elo to do it as well. Get to any elo that you want, but this is the best way to play Garen. I'm going to tell you absolutely every little hint, little secret, little things, little tricks that I do. So honestly, watch the entire video. The timestamps are going to be in the description down below. And also too, this honestly took me about 8 to 10 hours, somewhere around there, to get all this information down. So please, please God, leave a thumbs up for me and sub to the channel if you're new. Enjoy the video, guys. All right, fellas, so let's start it off with the Rune page. Now, this is going to be your bread and butter page. This is going to be the cookie cutter, which you're going to pretty much want to run 99% of the time, okay? So it's going to start off with Grasp of the Undying. Grasp of the Undying, by far, is the best keystone, without a doubt, on Garen, and it is used by every single high elo Garen player that I know of. And I love this keystone more than anything, because when you max Q, it helps you to dominate lane, helps you to win every single trade, okay? The next one is Bone Plating. A lot of you guys ask me why I don't run Demolish, and in my opinion, the reason you don't run Demolish is because Bone Plating is just too goddamn good in terms of trading in lane. You're running Ignite on Garen in lane, so you want every little tiny advantage so that you can snowball, you can take over that lane, and eventually win the game. So I choose Bone Plating 100% of the time over Demolish. Now, you can run Demolish if you are in a lane where you don't plan on ever fighting, ever trading, and you kind of just plan on chilling, maybe run TP, then yes, Demolish is going to be better. But I'm going to say 99% of the time, Bone Plating. The next one you're going to want to run is Chrysalis. Now, this is another tricky one because there's 3 very good options, but Chrysalis is going to be your bread and butter. Again, remember, read what it's saying here. You get 50 extra HP, and at 4 takedowns, you consume that HP, and you get 9 attack damage, okay? Now, I know it might not seem like a lot, but again, when you're trying to split push with Garen, when you're running that Triforce powerhouse build, and you're trying to snowball as hard as you can, every little bit of early game advantage is going to help, and I promise you, that 50 HP is going to come significantly close to either a first blood or a first death, okay? Now, the other option here, again, Chrysalis is used for being aggressive. You're going to be trading. You want to use that health to your advantage to try and kill someone, right? Now, the reverse, second wind, if you don't plan on fighting that much, or maybe you want to sit back a little bit and you want as much sustain with your passive as possible, then you're going to want to run second wind. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, if you don't plan on fighting at all and you just want to be a tank for your team, then obviously conditioning that 10-minute power spike of the boost in armor and magic resist is going to be your best friend. But when being aggressive, the bread and butter page, this is what you're going to want to run, Chrysalis, okay? Now for this, there are only 2 choices. Now, someone has told me that Revitalize doesn't work, and honestly, I don't even care because it's really not that, it's really not as good as the other 2 keystones. But apparently Revitalize doesn't work. Someone let me know down in the comments below. But Unflinching is what I like to run if and only if I'm against high CC opponents, aka if I'm going against a high CC top laner, and whenever I drop my Ignite on their head, I don't want them to be able to just slow me and walk away, or stun me and walk away. So this way I'm getting that extra slow resistance and tenacity when I drop Ignite, or I flash on top of them for the kill, or when I go for crazy tower dives, anything like that. So if there's heavy CC involved with the top laner and the jungler, or pretty much their entire team, Unflinching is going to be your best friend, because the more tenacity and slow resistance Garen has, the more OP you're going to be. Then the next thing, obviously, Overgrowth is a fantastic way to go. So this is pretty much if you're not really worried about having the slow resistance and tenacity on Garen, you can use your W just fine, then Overgrowth is going to be your best friend. You want to be tanky. This is perfect against going against super high burst opponents like assassins, right? So if they have, for example, like someone like Zed, Talon, if they have these people that can just run on you and just one-shot you, nuke you, then Overgrowth is going to be your best friend, because obviously the more HP you have, the harder it's going to be to take you down. Now we go on to the second page. Now, there's a whole lot of different things that a lot of people do, and honestly, I have tested them all, but what my page and my play style of Garen comes down to is dominating and kicking your ass in lane so that I can freeze the lane on you, and then I can do whatever the hell I want. I make the decisions, not you, right? So I'm not going to hinder my lane phase by running anything other than what I think is the best. Now, it is very unfortunate. Celerity did just get nerfed by a little bit. Instead of, I think it was 9% attack damage, now it's 6%. But regardless, every single time you press Q, or you proc Phage, or you proc Youmuu's Ghostblade, or anything, any kind of extra movement speed you have, Celerity is going to proc, and you proc it very often. So I personally think Celerity is amazing. It gives you bonus damage every time you go to Q slap someone in lane and you go for those small trades, okay? Now the next one, Scorch. Scorch also got nerfed. I'm not really sure if it's a nerf or not because they nerfed the bonus magic damage. It was, I think it was 20 to 60 early on, but now it's 10 to 30. But here's the thing. They reduced the cooldown from 20 seconds to 10 seconds, so now you can proc it even more. So honestly, I still choose to run both of these because it helps me win trades with Grasp, Bone Plating, Chrysalis, Celerity, Scorch. This is the greatest rune page, and it's the cookie cutter page you're going to want to run, and it's what I run 99% of the time on Garen. Alright guys, this next rune page is one of my favorites by far. It is called the mid or against a ranged opponent. You can run this in the top lane as well. If you're against any ranged opponent, this works out so damn well, especially if you're not able to proc Grasp of the Undying almost at all. This is going to be the best page. So we run Predator, obviously the amazing movement speed that you get. It's so difficult for anyone to get away from you when you're playing Garen. Then you want to run Taste of Blood because you can't make any use out of Sudden Impact or Cheap Shot. Then you want to go Eyeball Collection. You could go Ghost Poro if you are playing in the top lane and you do want a lot of vision control. You're thinking that you're going to be getting ganked a lot. You're going against a Lee Sin or an Elise jungle, a very, very aggressive type jungle. Then Ghost Poro is going to be fantastic for top lane. I like running Eyeball Collection more in the mid lane because I plan on roaming a whole lot and getting a lot more kills. So if you're top lane, definitely go Ghost Poro. So the next one is Ingenious Hunter. I love this because it gives you a massive cooldown on all of your active items, which includes your Predator Boots, it includes Righteous Glory, and it includes Youmuu's Ghostblade, which I plan on building almost always. Every single time I'm running Predator, I'm either building the Youmuu's or the Righteous Glory. So once you stack up Ingenious Hunter, I think it gets to about 25% CDR reduction on your active items, which is insane. Now, the next portion of this page is if you are against a laner that's going to harass the living shit out of you, then you are going to want to be able to kind of mitigate most of that damage by going Bone Plating and Second Wind. You do not go Chrysalis because you're not really going to make any use out of that 50 HP. You want pure survivability and sustain. Now, if you're not really going to get abused all that much and you're playing mid lane, or maybe you're just looking to roam and get a lot of kills and you just want to get as fed as humanly possible, then right here is the best page by far for Garen, okay? This is pretty much like the one-shot nuclear Garen build, okay? You're going to run Celerity for all that extra movement speed, all that extra AD, and then you're going to run Nimbus Cloak. So anytime you press R on someone, extra movement speed. All right, guys, these next two pages that I'm about to show you aren't really that useful. They can be very, very useful in very specific situations. For example, against heavy slows, running Phase Rush has a lot of slow resistance. This is really just about scaling into the late game and being a very utility-dependent kind of Garen. This page is called the Cheese page. If you're ever looking to just 1v1 someone or absolutely dumpster someone, level 1, level 2, this is going to be the bread and butter for that. Run an Electrocute along with Scorch and Celerity and Taste of Blood, and making for the perfect all-in first blood potential rune page. Alright guys, now we are on to the itemization slash builds portion of the video. Now before I start this, I want to tell you that there's two options that you guys are going to end up going, okay? You have two routes that you're going to always go down with Garen, okay? You're either going to go down the Black Cleaver route, or you're going to go down the Trinity Force route. The only time you are ever going to run Black Cleaver in this current meta, this current state of League of Legends, is if and only if they are tank heavy. Meaning, if you are going against a tank top and a tank jungler together in the same game, you will go Black Cleaver, so you can take full advantage of that armor shred, okay? Any other situation, you are going to want to run Trinity Force. Even if you're going against a Maokai top lane, a Malphite top lane, it doesn't matter. Triforce gives you so much magic damage combined with Grasp of the Undying. With your constant Q spam, they will not be able to build against it. They can stack as much armor as they want, but guess what? You armor shred with your E, your Q does magic damage, and so does your ultimate. It doesn't matter what they do, okay? They're not going to be able to build against you no matter what, okay? But again, if there's two tanks, you're going to want to go Black Cleaver. Now, the other thing I want to say before I jump into the builds is that you have to understand how to build situationally. All these builds that I'm about to show you, not all of them are cookie cutters. Sometimes you're going to have to take a look at the enemy team and understand that if there are three 3 or more, then you need to build against that specific thing. And what I mean by that, if there's 3 ADs, you probably should build some armor. If there's 3 APs, you probably should build some magic resist. If there's 3 tanks, armor pen. 3 squishies, burst. You know what I'm saying? You got to kind of understand that whole concept of building situationally, and all these builds are going to make perfect sense to you, okay? So let's jump right in. Now, this is the cookie cutter build that I normally like to run. Trinity Force and Sterak's Gauge are going to be your items pretty much. I'm going to say 90% of the time, these are your first 2 items. Maybe 95%. You know what? I'm going to say this. 99% of the time, Trinity Force and Sterak's Gauge are going to be your first 2 items, okay? Then what I like to do is I like to run into, obviously, any pair of boots that works. If they have 3 heavy auto attackers, then you're going to want to go Ninja Tabbies, okay? If they have 3 heavy APs with a lot of CC, you go Merc Treads. Or if they have heavy CC, Merc Treads. If they don't have either of those things and you feel like you're just shredding everyone, you're 5-0, you're 6-0, whatever, then I like to go Swiftness Boots because of the slow resistance. Look, check out the unique passive, the second one. Movement slowing effects are reduced by 25%. That's beautiful for Garen, okay? This is amazing for split pushing, and it is absolutely amazing for snowballing, okay? Now, the next thing I like to do is I like to go Youmuu's Ghost Blade, okay? Youmuu's Ghost Blade is no longer built first because it is really just a huge waste of gold, especially if you're in a melee matchup. Trinity Force is just way too good. But Youmuu's, it just complements Garen's Q. It complements the whole purpose of Garen and is amazing with this whole split push build, okay? Now, the next thing is Titanic Hydra. Titanic Hydra gives you the 3 auto attacks, the triple reset as I like to call it. So you can auto Q, auto the turret, and you can shred, creep waves, anything you want to do. This is an amazing item for shredding towers, and I highly recommend that you get this. Now, the next item, this was really the only item I could think that would kind of benefit the whole point of shredding towers. The whole purpose of this build, by the way, and the whole purpose of Garen is to split push and take towers as quickly as possible. And Dead Man's Plate, that big-ass passive that you keep stacking up, when you're getting all that extra movement speed, it all builds up into one gigantic auto attack, and you can use that on towers. So all these things together, I'm telling you right now, build this exact build in one of your games where you're fed as hell and you're split pushing, and watch how fast you take towers. Countless times with this build, I have 1v9'd. I have backdoored to win games countless times. This is my favorite Garen build in the entire game. Now, Dead Man's Play and Titanic can be swapped out for certain things like Guardian's Angel or Spirit Visage or Adaptive, etc., etc. You're going to have to use a little bit of common sense and figure out exactly what you need. Okay, now here is another one. Here is what I like to build against ranged AD opponents. Now, for example, if you're against Quinn, some random AD carry, Jayce, anyone with heavy abuse AD ranged in the top lane that you are going to need some extra movement speed, extra oomph to get to, you are not going to ever want to start Trinity Force against someone that is not melee. Trinity Force is only against melee. Say it with me, guys. Only against melee opponents, okay? So we are either going to start by getting a Righteous Glory or Ninja Tabbies. Now, let me explain the difference, okay? You are going to go Ninja Tabbies if 3 or more of your opponents are AD and use a lot of auto attacks, okay? If Ninja Tabbies are not with the boots you plan on building throughout the game, let's say you want to get Merc Treads or Swiftness boots, then do not start with Ninja Tabbies. Don't even build them. You are going to immediately rush Righteous Glory. Righteous Glory is the most insane thing. It's so goddamn funny because you're so tanky and you're so fast with a gigantic AoE slow that you're going to run full speed at a Teemo, full speed at a Quinn, and there's not a goddamn thing that they're going to be able to do about it. As soon as you grab this for your first item, they are dead no matter what. You have Grasp, you have your ult, you have Ignite. They're dead every single time, okay? Now, the other side of the spectrum, if you do end up building Ninja Tabbies against that Quinn, right? And let's just say they have their AD carry and they also have like a Graves jungle, right? That's 3 ADs and they have 3 auto attackers. So Ninja Tabbies is going to become perfectly optimal in the mid portion of the game and in the late game portion as well, okay? So it's a good investment. Your second item that you're going to get is a Youmuu's Ghost Blade. Now, the reason why you're doing this is because you can't keep up with them. The whole point of ranged opponents is that they keep you back. Quinn's E, for example, if you try and run full speed at Quinn, yes, Ninja Tabbies are going to help, but she still has Flash and she still has E. So, therefore, you need that extra movement speed to be able to close the gap, to get on top of her and ult her, and ultimately just shit on the Quinn or the Teemo or the Jayce or whoever, okay? This is your bread and butter build against ranged opponents. Now, obviously, Once you're done with these 2 items, you no longer need to build anything to be able to get to these people, because every time you press Youmuu's, they're dead. Now what you do is you finish the rest of your build, okay? Trinity Force, Sterak's. Get back on that split push grind and win the game, okay? And obviously after these, it's all situational. GA, Deadman's Plate, Spirit Visage. The list goes on and on, okay? But this is the cookie cutter build against ranged AD opponents. Now, what if you're against a Kayle or a Rumble or a full AP Teemo in the top lane? I'll answer that question for you right now. Again, you have 2 options, okay? Option number 1, you can rush a Hex Drinker, okay? Hex Drinker is going to be perfect because it will allow you to fully tank anyone's burst no matter what at level 6. Once you're level 6, you will be able to fully nuke them, and Hex Drinker is going to be great. But again, there's another issue. How the hell are you going to be able to get to them? The next item that you're going to build is going to be a Youmuu's Ghost Blade, okay? Remember, you got to close that gap. Youmuu's Ghost Blade is giving you that movement speed to be able to get to them, okay? Q movement speed plus Youmuu's Ghost Blade against any ranged opponent, they're dead, okay? So now the other end of the spectrum is if Merc Treads are a good investment, meaning they have 3 or more APs with a good amount of CC, so you're going to want that tenacity, then Merc Treads are going to be your first item instead of the Hex Drinker, okay? And then you're going to grab the Youmuu's Ghost Blade into these next items, okay? Now watch this. This is the most genius thing I have ever come up with. And yes, I'm tooting my own horn because I'm so damn proud of this. Once I discovered to build Edge of Night as my third item against APs, it is the most incredible thing of all time, because check this out. Ready? For example, let's say you're against Teemo in the top lane, right? What is Teemo known for? He's obviously being an asshole, right? But when he drops his blind on you or he has a random mushroom, Edge of Night acts like a Banshee's Veil, and will block the first thing that comes at you. And usually the first thing that comes at you is a way of getting you away. So like a Cassiopeia ult, a Ziggs W, a Veigar wall, or any kind of CC that's going to stop them from, or you from running at them, Edge of Night completely negates. And it's the perfect item against APs specifically, okay? And then you're going to go right into Trinity Force, right into Sterak's Gauge, and if you want, you can go Maw of Malamortis if they have enough AP opponents on the team. And again, everything's situational from this point. Again, you can go Deadman's Plate, you can go Maw, you can go Adaptive Helm, Spirit Visage, Guardian Angel. There's a lot of items you can build. Just think about what exactly you need to win the game, and you'll close out the build. All right, now this is another build that I have not used this build in a very long time, because the tank meta is really no longer around. So you don't really see that many opportunities to use this, because the only time you are ever going to do this is if they have 3 or more tanks, okay? You could do this if you are going against a very heavy top lane tank and a top lane jungle. Let's say you're against Maokai and Sejuani, okay? This would be a fantastic build against them as well. So the whole purpose of this build obviously is to shred them, but also be a tank yourself, okay? So Black Cleaver, you already know that's the option against the double tank or the triple tank, okay? Whatever pair of boots that you want. And then here's where things get real interesting, okay? Lord Dominic's is now changed. It's no longer due to how much health the opponents have. So this is why this build is so goddamn good. 35% armor penetration, okay? On top of everything that you already have. So you either have this choice. If they're stacking so much armor that you think you need more, then you go this route. If they have a Sona, a Soraka, a Nami, they just have a lot of healing on their team, then Mortal Reminder is going to be your best friend. Proccing those grievous wounds on their entire team when you're spinning on all of them, absolutely game changer, okay? I'm telling you right now, this is going to be your bread and butter. Then I like to go into Sterak's Gauge. Sterak's Gauge is such an amazing item. You guys already know, it's such a fantastic item for survivability, and it gives you a hell of a lot of damage too whenever Sterak's Gauge procs. For example, whenever Sterak's Gauge procs, you get a massive boost of AD, and you can instantly, pop your spin or ult anyone, and you're going to get a shitload of damage out of it, okay? And then after that, everything is completely situational, okay? Now, are they heavy APs? Spirit Visage is always great. Warmogs is always great. Adaptive is always great. Are they heavy AD? Do you need to engage for your team? Righteous Glory. Do you just want a massive slow and you want to jump on the first person you see? Then Deadman's Plate is also great as well. So remember, after the core foundation of the build against all tanks build, then boom, completely situational. Take a look at what the enemy team has to offer and how you can beat that team. All right, now this, I think I said before that the first build was my favorite, but this actually is my 100% favorite build because I love getting fed on Garen. I love one-shotting people. I love making videos about it. You guys already know. And this is my go-to build for sure when I'm getting fed on Garen. So let's say you're against all squishies, okay? It's a bunch of little Yordles on the enemy team. Everyone on the enemy team can be one-shot no matter what, okay? This is the build you're going to go. Trinity Force, Yomu's Ghostblade, Storm Razor, okay, for that on-hit Q, okay? Amazing crit damage. Sterak's Gauge, even more on-hit Q damage. And then Guardian Angel to close it out. I like Guardian Angel for this situation because they're going to have a lot of burst, and you're going to be very, very squishy for the most part, other than Sterak's. So Guardian Angel allows you to make a very nasty flash play into their mid laner or their AD carry, one-shot him, and then proc GA, and then you win the team fight, aka the game. And I also like to go Boots of Swiftness just to help further my cause here. All right, guys, let's talk about the early game itemization as well as your start and your first back items, okay? Now, this is a very common question. I get it all the time. And yes, it really, really does matter what route you go. There's a lot of arguments going on right now as to what's the best. Well, guess what? I'm here to tell you what is actually the best. I've played well over, I think, thousands of games of Garen, lots of mastery points at a high level or a moderately high level, whatever you want to call it. This is the best way to start with Garen. Let's talk about the starting items first, okay? So, Doran's Shield is what I start 99% of the time, and I mean that, okay? Now, a lot of people have been saying that there's this whole Rejuvenation Bead thing. Now, I've done the math on Rejuvenation Bead, and it's very interesting because it's not terrible, it's not bad at all, but it's such a specific window where it would be useful that it's not worth ever getting it, okay? For example, I think the start is 2 Rejuve Beads, which is 8 health per 5 seconds. And Doran's Shield is 6 health per 5 seconds. So obviously that's already like not that big of a deal. But the difference here between the Rejuve Bead start and the Doran's Shield is the early game pressure that you get, okay? Doran's Shield gives you 80 extra HP on top of Chrysalis, the 50 extra HP, okay? Those combined together. Amazing, right? Then also it helps you last hit. You get 5 physical damage to minions on hit, okay? So it helps you last hit a little bit better. Especially if you guys aren't that good at last hitting, kind of like me in the early game, it's going to help out a lot. And then the best thing overall is you regain an additional 20 HP over 10 seconds after taking damage from an enemy champion. Now, with the regen beads, I think at 4 regen beads, I think you get per 10 seconds, I think you get 36 HP. So obviously that's good, but here's the thing. When you recall on your first back, it is so goddamn rare that you're not going to have enough money to buy, you know, long swords, potions, control wards, all these things. If you go back and you only have 300 gold, clearly you're doing something wrong. So wasting 300 gold on an extra 2 Rejuve beads to end up getting the 4 Rejuve bead thing, it's never worth it, guys. It really is not. So Doran's Shield is 100% better than Rejuve bead. Almost, I'm going to say 90% of the time, because I'm sure there's something, a very specific situation where Rejuve bead beats Doran's Shield. But Doran's Shield, 99% of the time, I always run it. It's amazing, okay? Then the other option is cloth armor and 4 potions. Now this is very, very efficient, and let me tell you why, okay? So in those situations, when we're against Quinn, when we're against some random AD carry, when we're against Jayce, if you are planning on building Ninja Tabbies as your first item, remember how we just talked about going against a ranged opponent and investing in a pair of early Ninja Tabbies to scale better into the mid game, right? Cloth armor is going to save you 300 gold on your first back to potentially buy those Ninja Tabbies your first recall, okay? 4 health potions as well. It's going to give you a shitload of sustain, and anything that these guys are throwing at you, it's going to hurt a lot less. Jayce is going to be spamming those gates, those EQ combos on you, those triple auto attacks. Quinn's going to be spamming her E, her autos, her Qs, her passive. It doesn't matter. It's going to hurt a whole lot less with that extra 15 armor, okay? And it's gold efficient. These are your best starting items, okay? Also, too, I have tried Longsword 3, and I have noticed that I don't need that extra AD at all because, seriously, Doran's Shield is actually better than Longsword. Believe it or not, it really is. Now, maybe if you are trying to go for super cheese with that electrocute thing I was talking about earlier, then maybe Longsword 3 is going to be good specifically for that Electrocute page, right? But we're running Dorn Shield, we're running Chrysalis, we're running Bone Plating. We're looking to win trades, okay? Having 80 extra HP and regaining 20 HP over 10 seconds every single time you get hit, you're winning virtually every single trade on Garen, okay? So obviously the best. Longsword 3, no good. Now let's talk about your first back. Okay, now this is going to be very confusing to a lot of you guys. A lot of you guys are so intimidated by Sheen because it has mana. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, who gives a shit, okay? Read the passive of Sheen. Every single time you press Q on someone, you're getting magic damage from Sheen, okay? You're getting that extra damage. It is absolutely amazing, okay? Plus 10% CDR, so you get more Q slap opportunity, okay? Plus Grasp of the Undying. Remember, it's going to make your Qs hurt like hell, okay? So this is what you want to strive for on your first back. You want to try and always go back on your first back with a Sheen and a refillable potion, okay? That's the ideal situation, okay? If not, Sheen and a health potion, okay? If you can afford a Sheen without any health potions, do it, but you need to make goddamn sure that you're not going to need that health potion. You have to make sure that you're going to be able to kill that guy again, stay healthy in lane, and not die because you don't have a health potion, okay? Now, the other option is if you can't afford a Sheen or you don't think that Sheen is the most optimal thing, right, because you can't afford the health potion, then the next best thing is Phage, okay? I like to go Longsword Boots. I like to go Longsword Ruby Crystal, refillable potion. It's really up to you. You know, use your judgment. What do you think that you need? Do you want better trades? Then maybe Boots, Longsword, right? So you can get in there and get out faster, okay? Or if you really just want to get that Phage as quickly as possible, Ruby Crystal, Longsword, refillable potion, or a potion. And that's going to be the most ideal starting situations for pretty much 99% of this game. Nothing is going to be better, and this is going to help you guys out a lot during the lane phase. Help you snowball and help you absolutely dominate anyone you're going against. All right, now let's jump into the lane phase portion of the guide. So basically, as Garen, your strategy with Grasp of the Undying should always be to max Q in lane and go for as many small trades as humanly possible in a non-greedy way. The easiest way to do this is to use the brush to drop minion aggro after you Q your opponent. This will also stop the wave from pushing. The next thing to remember is to focus on nothing but wave management. Garen thrives on freezing lanes and chasing his opponents down the entire lane with the movement speed from his Q. So overall, Q spam the hell out of your opponent, using the brush to drop minion aggro while always trying to freeze the lane, which means you can't be ganked and the enemy is more likely to make a stupid mistake that you can capitalize on and take advantage of. All right, now on to post lane phase. So you have two questions to ask. Number one, are you fed? Number two, are you behind? If you are fed, it's time to take a look at what's going on in the game. If you are fed and your team is very far behind, then you need to split push because grouping with your team and winning a fight is simply not an option. But before you can split push, you 100% need to be able to 1v1 all 5 members of the enemy team. If you can't, then you need to focus on shoving top and running to mid to try to make plays for your team. If you are fed and your team is also fed, then that means it's time to push your lane and group with your team to force objectives to close out the game. Trying to split push when your team has a dramatic lead is such a waste of time. You are going to throw every single game if you do not recognize that your team is superior to the enemy team. So group up with them, take out the dragons together, take out the barons, take out the towers, and just close out the game. So what do you do if you're behind? If you are behind, the best thing to do is to start to focus on warding, grab a blue trinket and a control ward, and prioritize keeping your jungle fully warded so that the enemy will not be able to gank your team. The next thing to do is to never ever split push when behind. Like I said before, if you can't 1v1 all 5 people on the enemy team, you have no business splitting. So basically the best thing to do is to shove your top wave into the enemy's tower and then group with your team. When you do this, you can easily come back because anyone under Diamond 3 Elo loves to throw games by being overly aggressive. So by being grouped up with your team and not split off, you can easily pick off people with the vision control that you have created with your blue trinket and your control wards. Alright, now let's talk about split pushing. This is by far the most important part about being a great Garen player. Garen is such a shitty champion when it comes to team fighting, especially when you compare him to champions like Jax, Gnar, Maokai. He simply doesn't have anything to offer in team fights like most other top laners do. So whenever you get fed, it's time to split push, and here's how to do it correctly. Split pushing is all about playing off of what your team and the enemy team is currently doing and applying crazy amounts of pressure that the enemy team will not be able to deal with. For example, if your team refuses to listen to you, which they often will, then you simply go to the opposite side of the map that they're on and start pushing. The ideal goal of split pushing is to have all 4 of your teammates distract the enemy to buy you enough time to shred the towers. Garen is one of the fastest tower takers in the entire game with the Trinity Force build. So every second that your teammates buy you is an opportunity for you to grab an inhibitor or even backdoor Nexus towers or even end the game by killing the Nexus. But before you start split pushing like hell, there are 2 rules you need to follow when your team decides to group. The first is to make sure that you always have a blue trinket and a control ward set on the side that you're splitting so that the enemy cannot pick you off from behind. Now, the alternative to this is if you are extremely fed and you're running Youmuu's Ghostblade, Triforce, Sterax, maybe even a Stormrazor, or you're just looking to completely obliterate the enemy team, then a red trinket can be made in place of the blue trinket so you can mess around in the enemy jungle, clear out their wards, and look for picks, and then go for a little bit of split push, which is something that I really like to do most of the time. But if you're not planning on trying to go for any sneaky kills in the enemy jungle, then blue trinket is going to be your best friend. The second rule is if you see the enemy team running it down mid as 5, you need to know 100% that your team can hold them off. If not, immediately recall and help your team. Every second counts. Do not waste any time taking jungle camps, dragons, whenever there's an opportunity to take something big. So the order of objective importance will always be this: towers, then Baron, then dragon. No matter what, taking towers, inhibs, Nexus is what's going to actually win you the game. So focus all of your time and energy on taking them out as quickly as possible. All right, so this is a nice little section I thought I would throw in here because I have not seen anyone talk about these. Now, some of you guys are going to know what these are, but I like to call these power move plays. And these power move plays are pretty much a post lane phase, a mid to late game type situation. All these different strategies I have either learned or developed myself, but I use every single one of these as often as I can to close out games with Garen. And I gotta tell you, you guys are gonna really enjoy these, okay? So the first one is called the 1-3-1 Baron push. The classic 1-3-1, which means 1 man top, 1 man bot, and 3 mid. Ideally, you're gonna want to have the people that can 1v1 anyone in the solo lanes and the people that are a bit weaker in the mid lane. This play is an amazing way of slowly breaking into the enemy's base due to all of the pressure created with the Baron minions. You can also do this play without Baron, using super minions, or even just having a very large lead with no Baron or dragons to take. The goal here is to never ever fight, only focus on pushing and slowly but surely taking down the inhib towers. The next power play is a 1-4 Baron push. It's exactly how it sounds. You split push a side lane while your team groups as 4 in a single lane. This is a play that I almost always try to do when I'm extremely fed and we have Baron. This is an alternative to the 1-3-1 if your team simply can't or won't do the 1-3-1. This is especially effective if you have already taken the enemy inhib, as you can now start to go for the Nexus towers with the Baron buffed super minions, if your team can buy you enough time. The next power move play is called a 4-man Baron, 1-man bot. So this is all about forcing the enemy team to make a tough decision. The only time you're ever going to want to make this play is if your 4-man team is strong enough to tank and kill Baron effectively, meaning they aren't going to get super close with all low HP and end up dying or getting aced by 1 or 2 people. And you also need to be split push ready. So the reason this is such a great play that I try to make every single game is because if the enemy team sends 3 or more people after you, in the bot lane, then Baron is ideally free. However, if they send everyone to the Baron pit, then you 100% will be able to tower dive the one person they have left behind to defend, because you are fed as hell and can now keep pushing to take the inhib, or even the Nexus towers, and if you're quick, you can potentially end the game. Alright guys, this next play is called the 4-man dragon, 1-man top. This is the exact same play as the 4-man baron. If any dragons are going to spawn soon, you know damn well everyone is going to be ready to contest it. So you can use this to your advantage and set up an amazing opportunity for you to take out your opponent's base. You need to be smart about this because you obviously don't want to give up an Elder Dragon or an Infernal Dragon for free. So be careful before making this play. If and when you do make this play, make sure that if you are trading Elder or Infernal, that you are getting much more than just an inhibitor. If you are trading an Infernal Drake or an Elder Dragon, you need to make damn sure that you're pretty much going to be ending or taking all of the Nexus towers or pretty much ending the game. All right, the final and probably one of my favorite plays to make all the time, especially as a duo queue, is called the Rift Herald Tower Dive to Inhib. This is probably the greatest power move play that Professor Akali and I often use when we duo. It's really as simple as you and the mid laner or the jungler look to tower dive the top or bottom lane tier 2 tower. Then, after killing the enemy, you can either take the tower and immediately spawn the rift to take out the inhib tower, or you can just use the rift to get a free tier 2 if you don't think you have enough time to go for that inhib tower. Now, the only way this works is if you and your buddy are split away from the enemy team as well as your own team. This is a split push power move and will only work if the enemy team is far away. So make sure you are very patient with this, because if you pull it off and take the inhib, you probably just won the game. Alright guys, now we go into the final section of the game where I'm going to talk about the most popular matchups that I run into all the time, and I have figured out pretty much how to beat every single person in lane for the most part. Now, I may leave out a few matchups, but just ask me down in the comments section below and I'll answer it for you. Illaoi. Be very aggressive pre-level 6 whenever she misses her E or even lands it. She will not have the damage to kill you as long as you spin and focus on dodging the tentacle slaps. Once she hits level 6, respect her ult by baiting it out and running away with your Q, then looking to fight and kill her once her ult is on cooldown. Riven. Go for small trades and look to freeze the wave. Get Riven low by Q spamming safely when she is caught out of position so she doesn't run you down with her Q and kill you. Make sure you never take long trades or overextend against her. She will chase your ass down and kill you. Darius. Almost impossible to win. You need to be very aggressive pre-level 3 and look to cheese kill him with Ignite. Make sure to only take short trades or he will 5-stack you and win no matter what. A little tip when fighting Darius is to stand on top of him whenever he Qs so that he doesn't heal or get a stack on you. I personally just ban Darius every single game no matter what because I would rather face anyone else than Darius. Irelia. Very easy lane, be aggressive early on with small Q trades. Avoid fighting Irelia whenever she has 4 stacks of her passive, which will be very easy to identify because all of her blades will light up. And try to bait out her W whenever going for the kill or an extended trade. If you just run at Irelia with your spells, she will tank all of it with her W and kill you. Vladimir. Be as aggressive as humanly possible early on. Vlad cannot kill you no matter what until he is about level 6. If a Vlad doesn't respect you even level 1, run his ass down and auto Q ignite him to death. Also, take Grasp of the Undying in this matchup as you will easily be able to proc it in lane and it will give you great sustain against his Q. Camille. Be patient and go for small Q trades, making sure not to overextend in the lane. Simply freeze the creep wave, and once she wastes her E onto you, W the initial damage and chase her down the lane, and she will have nothing left but flash. Also, never take extended trades with Camille as she will proc her shield on you and hit you with a lot of true damage. Small trades and a lot of patience is what's going to win this lane. Aatrox. Focus on running straight at him when he uses his first 2 Qs. Aatrox has a tough time because of Garen's Q movement speed, so if you can manage to dodge all of his Qs, he literally can't do anything to you. Once his Qs are down, it's safe to go for an extended trade or even the kill. Yasuo. All that matters in this lane is letting him push the wave while you relax and wait for him to make mistakes. You have to be patient because his passive, his E, his nados, everything can really just block all of your damage and he can run away from you no issue. The next most important thing is dodging every single Q that you possibly can, as that's really where all of his damage is coming from. Once you dodge his Q, simply go for a small trade and rinse and repeat until you see kill opportunity. My favorite thing to do in this matchup is just to rush a Righteous Glory so that I can lock his ass down at level 6 and just kill him with my Ignite and my ultimate. Jax. This lane is all about outplaying Jax's Counter-Strike. Most Jax players will be good enough to press E whenever you try to Q them. So, maxing Q in this matchup won't always work if they are very quick to proc Counter-Strike whenever you try and Q them. If this happens, max your E instead and wait for Jax to use his Counter-Strike. Then, after he uses it, proceed to press your Q, start to spin, then hit him with your Q after his Counter-Strike is down. And you will win all of the trades this way. Renekton. Try to dodge Renekton's Q as often as you can while trying to be very aggressive level 1 and 2 with your Q slaps. You can easily take over the lane with early aggression. The most important thing in this matchup is trying to time your W with his stun. If you can do this perfectly every time, then simply chase him down with your Q and spin, and you will win every trade. Tryndamere. This lane is all about early game aggression. If you sit there and you let Trynd start auto-attacking minions, then he will have his rage bar stacked and he will absolutely shit on you and kill you level 1 or level 2. So the secret here is not to push the wave, but spam the hell out of your auto Q combo on him, then immediately run into the brush to drop the minion aggro. Then rinse and repeat until you see the kill opportunity. Just to clarify, you will not be autoing the minion wave whatsoever, only last hitting. If you do push Trynd under tower, then you're giving him exactly what he wants, which is a full rage bar and a chance to hit level 6. However, it is okay if you see him constantly killing minions, it is okay to do the exact same thing. This way you will be hitting level 2 before him and you can go for an early cheese kill. Nasus. Nasus is hands down one of the worst early game champs in the entire game. You need to take full advantage of this by Q spamming in and out of the brush, making sure to never push Nasus under tower. You want to freeze against Nasus to deny him from stacking his passive. You have to take over the lane without pushing him under tower. Once you kill him a single time, freeze the lane and never let him get any of the farm or experience. Fiora. To beat Fiora, there's quite a few tricks you need to know and master. The first being level 1. Whenever she goes to proc vitals, make sure you're sitting back in your caster minions when she goes for the trade. Simply auto Q or Q her and you will win the trade every time no matter what, especially if you have Grasp of the Undying up. The next thing to remember is to always save your Q and ult for after she uses her riposte. If you aren't patient and you Q or ult her when she does it, you will lose every single fight. The last and final trick to beat Fiora is whenever she uses her ult, find the nearest wall and stand right up against it while fighting her so that she can't go behind you and proc all 4 of her vitals to get her heal. Wukong. Against Wukong, you want to Q spam in and out of the brush as you should in most matchups for all of level 1. Once Wukong gets his W, it's time to start baiting it out by waiting to use your Q until after he uses his clone. Another trick I always do is to buy a red trinket on my second or third bag, so I can keep track of him when he's invisible. Urgot. To beat Urgot, all you need to do is never fight him when he has his machine gun shield up. He will tank all of your damage and kill you instantly. Try to bait it out, and whenever it's down, go for a big trade. Kled. Hands down, one of the most annoying matchups around. Kled, in my opinion, is one of the most broken champions in the game, and nobody knows it other than the Koreans, of course. The trick with him is to go for small trades when close to your tower. If you ever fight him for more than a second, he will outtrade you and run you down and kill you. So small trades until you knock him off of his chicken, then go for the kill. Teemo. So against Teemo, you need to respect him if he decides to start Q level 1. If he starts E, then you need to run his little Yordle ass down level 1 and kill him as he will not have the damage to fight back. If he does start blind level 1, then you simply need to respect him until you have your Merc Treads, Youmuu's Ghostblade, Red Trinket combination. Once you have these items, you can run him down no matter what and nuke him with your ult. If the enemy team has a lot of AD champions, and Teemo is really the only AP, then you're not going to want to build Merc Treads as it would be a bad investment into the mid game. Instead, buy a Hex Drinker and continue to build the Youmuu's Red Trinket. This strategy also will work against every single top lane ranged AP opponent, like Rumble, Kayle, or Kennen. Quinn and Jayce. To beat either of these guys, Quinn and Jayce, or any other top lane ranged AD opponent. To beat any of these guys, you really need to back off and focus on getting every minion you can while soaking up experience as well. There is no need to be greedy for farm. Simply wait until it is safe to last hit. The only time you need to greed for farm is when there's a cannon minion. So your first option is to rush a pair of Ninja Tabbies, so consider starting Cloth 4 in these matchups. Then immediately into the Youmuu's Ghostblade to match their mobility. If Ninja Tabbies are not a good idea against the enemy team as a whole, then you can rush Righteous Glory for your first item and you will be able to skip Youmuu's and go straight into your standard build afterward. You can easily 1v1 them with just this single item because you will have ult plus ignite, and you'll be tanky as hell. Alright guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, this video took about, I'm going to say about 10 hours to finally finish, get all the editing done, all that kind of stuff. So do me a favor, leave a thumbs up and sub to the channel if you guys are new. Also too, I am streaming every single day on facebook.com/TheGlacierr at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Literally every single day, and I'm playing Garen, I'm playing top lane, I'm playing with viewers. So if you guys want to come hang out, just click on the link down in the description below or click on the link on the pinned comment. Every single day, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hopefully I see you guys there, and thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you guys learned something. Peace out, guys.